Hi, and welcome to my discussion, or the discussion on the Turing test. The Turing test is basically a test of, can a computer think? The idea isn't, can a human think, but rather, can a computer do what we call thinking? Is it intelligent, or is it thinking? Now, if I were to ask you, how do you know that I am doing something, that I am a thinking being? How do I know that any of you are thinking? Well, the one way is that you perform an act that exhibits thoughtfulness, that you behave in a way that appears thoughtful or to be thinking. And so what happens is the Turing test essentially becomes this idea that you are doing something that is thoughtful or that exhibits thinking. Now, with that, there's essentially an idea of what we call functionalism, which is the idea that we define things by their function. That a chair is defined by the function it performs, is to be sat upon. A cup is defined by its function, which is to be drunk from or to hold liquids. And so what happens is each thing is defined by its function, and so we define what something is by its function. So we define thinking by the function it performs, which is to process information and to make it think. And so that's part of where this comes from, is the idea that if it performs the function, then we know it is doing this thing called thinking. And so the idea here is that the only way I know you're thinking is that you are exhibiting thought. And so a guy by the name of Alan Turing came up with this test called the Turing test, in which he tried to figure out whether or not computers would think. He wrote an article in 1950, that's 60-some years ago. He wrote this article in which he proposed a way to suggest that people are thinking. Or not people, but computers are thinking. And what Turing suggested was that if a computer could perform the same thing a human did, then we would have to conclude it was a thinking entity. And so, because that's the same way we would conclude that a human is a thinking entity. And this is pretty revolutionary because this is in 1950. This is when you had computers the size of a refrigerator that would do what your calculator could do. A simple calculator. Not even like a graphing or anything. I mean, you're talking about like 2 + 2 = 4. It'd take it 10 minutes, and it was the size of a refrigerator to compute that. This is the time. But he was saying if it could get to the level where it could do and behave just like a human, then we could conclude it was thinking.